Scene start, Judge. Mr. Miller, I have given you 3 opportunities to comply with the direct order of this court. You are choosing to defy me? Attorney. With all due respect, Your Honor, my ethical obligations under the rules of professional conduct are not optional. I cannot and will not disclose the identity of my investigator's source. That is privileged work product. Judge. It's not privileged if I say it's not. Deputies, take him into custody. Now! We'll see if a night in a cell refreshes your memory. Sound of gavel slamming. In a split second, the courtroom transforms from a place of logic to a scene of absolute chaos. An attorney, mid-argument, is being led away in handcuffs for doing his job. But what this judge didn't realize is that by clicking those cuffs, he just set a trap for himself. From constitutional violations to an immediate appellate intervention, this is the moment a judge's show of power turned into a legal nightmare. To understand how a routine hearing spiraled into a constitutional standoff, we have to look at the high-stakes environment of State versus Sterling. This wasn't a simple traffic violation. It was a complex white-collar racketeering case that had already been dragging on for 18 grueling months. The air in the courtroom was thick with exhaustion and mutual distrust. Presiding over the case was Judge Harold Vance, a jurist known for his law and order reputation and an increasingly short fuse regarding defense tactics. Representing the lead defendant was Marcus Miller, a veteran defense attorney who had built a career on never backing down from judicial overreach. The tension reached a breaking point during a discovery motion regarding a leaked internal memo. Judge Vance was convinced the defense had obtained the document through a breach of court security, while Miller maintained it was legitimate work product, gathered through independent investigation. By the morning of the arrest, the legal arguments had shifted away from the defendant's guilt and toward a personal battle of wills over the very definition of attorney ethics. Judge Vance. Mr. Miller, for the final time. You have proprietary information that originated from my chambers. How did you get it? Miller. Your Honor, as I've stated, that information was gained within the professional relationship of representing my client. Under Rule 1.6, I am ethically bound to maintain that confidence. I'm not hiding the ball. I'm following the law. Judge Vance. Rule 1.6 is not a shield for theft, sir. You are surreptitiously obtaining court documents. If you don't reveal your source in the next 60 seconds, I will find you in summary contempt. Miller. If the court is suggesting I committed a crime, then I am entitled to a hearing and a different judge. You are becoming a party to this dispute. I move for a mistrial based on the court's clear bias. Judge Vance. Motion denied. You don't get to extort this court with threats of a mistrial. Deputies, take the podium. Mr. Miller, you are in custody. Under Georgia law, and specifically the precedent set in cases like scoliosis, a judge cannot use contempt as a tool of intimidation to bypass an attorney's ethical duties. By ordering an immediate arrest without a separate hearing, Judge Vance didn't just silence an advocate, he created a structural error that would haunt the remainder of the trial. The moment the handcuffs clicked, the clock began ticking on Judge Vance's authority. While Mr. Miller was being processed, his co-counsel was already hitting send on an emergency petition for a writ of habeas corpus and an immediate stay of execution. In the legal world, this is the emergency brake. The backfire was instantaneous. Within 2 hours, the appellate court issued a blistering temporary stay, noting that a judge cannot act as prosecutor, witness, and executioner in a matter involving their own chambers. The higher court pointed out a fatal procedural flaw. By jailing Miller for refusing to reveal a source, the judge was essentially trying to unring the bell of a privileged communication without following due process. Instead of refreshing Miller's memory, the arrest completely paralyzed the trial. The jury was sent home indefinitely, and the prosecution, who had remained silent during the outburst, now faced the reality that their hard-won progress was likely headed for a total reversal. The judge's attempt to assert absolute control had instead handed the defense the ultimate weapon, a documented claim of judicial bias. The arrest didn't just stall the trial, it dismantled the court's impartiality beyond repair. Following the appellate stay, a secondary judge was assigned to review the contempt proceedings. The ruling was swift and devastating for the bench. Judge Vance had become personally embroiled in the conflict. Under the Code of Judicial Conduct, once a judge's own ego or private communications become the subject of the dispute, they lose the presumption of neutrality. In a move that mirrored the fallout of the Young Thug trial, Judge Vance was forced to recuse himself from the entire case. The aftermath was a logistical nightmare for the state. Thousands of hours of testimony were put in jeopardy, and a trial that had cost taxpayers millions was now teetering on the edge of a mistrial. Furthermore, the state's highest court eventually vacated the contempt order permanently, clarifying that an attorney cannot be jailed for upholding Rule 1.6 unless a higher court has first ruled the privilege inapplicable. Judge Vance's attempt to rule with an iron fist resulted in a permanent stain on his judicial record and a textbook lesson for law students on the limits of summary power. This dramatic standoff serves as a powerful reminder that the courtroom is not a kingdom, and a judge is not a sovereign. While the power of contempt is a necessary tool to maintain order, it was never intended to be used as a blunt instrument to bypass the Sixth Amendment or the ethical mandates of the bar. When a judge's personal frustration overrides the constitutional rights of the accused, the entire legal architecture begins to crumble. The backfire, in this case, wasn't just a procedural victory for one attorney. It was a win for the adversarial system itself. It reinforced the principle that defense counsel must be allowed to advocate zealously without the looming threat of a jail cell for simply adhering to their oath. As we saw in the fallout, the quest for absolute control often leads to a total loss of jurisdiction. What do you think? Did the judge go too far, or should attorneys be forced to disclose their sources in the interest of courtroom transparency? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and share so that we can help foster a more informed society.